Claire Bennett learned something painful after her divorce. Attention was easy to find, but understanding was rare. At 42, she had rebuilt her life in the suburbs of Chicago. She worked long hours as a marketing director, raised her 16-year-old daughter Emma, and kept her home peaceful and organized. On the outside, she looked confident. She dressed well. She spoke clearly. She smiled often. People described her as put together. But inside, Claire carried quiet loneliness. Her marriage had ended without shouting or scandal. It ended with silence. Her ex-husband had slowly stopped listening. He stopped asking questions. He stopped noticing when she changed her hair or stayed up late finishing work. Over time, she felt less like a partner and more like furniture in her own home. When the divorce papers were signed, she promised herself she would never feel invisible again. So when she returned to dating, she stepped carefully. She met men through friends, through work events, even through a dating app. Her colleague insisted she try. The first few dates felt hopeful. The men were polite, some were charming. Most complimented her appearance within minutes. "You look amazing for your age. You must work out. I love your smile." The compliments were not rude, but they felt shallow. Conversations quickly turned toward chemistry, attraction, and how long she had been single. One man reached across the table and held her hand before she even finished her story about Emma's college plans. Another leaned too close during dessert, lowering his voice as if closeness meant connection. Claire would go home, remove her earrings, wash her face, and stare at herself in the bathroom mirror. Is this all they see? It wasn't that she didn't want romance. She did. She missed the warmth of partnership. She missed shared jokes and quiet evenings. She missed having someone to call when something good or bad happened. But she wanted depth before desire. One Friday evening in October, her best friend Melissa insisted she attend a small dinner gathering downtown. No blind dates, Melissa promised. Just adults having normal conversation. Claire almost declined. It had been a long week. Emma was staying at a friend's house. The couch felt safer than another polite disappointment. But something in her refused to give up completely. She chose a simple navy dress and drove into the city. The dinner took place in a private room at a cozy restaurant overlooking the Chicago River. Soft lights reflected on the water outside. The group was small, 8 people, mostly professionals in their 40s and 50s. That was where she noticed Daniel Harper. He stood near the window, speaking quietly with another guest. He wasn't the loudest man in the room. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He listened carefully, nodding as the other person spoke. Melissa introduced them. "Claire, this is Daniel. He's an architect from Toronto. He's here for a long-term project." Daniel smiled, not the fast, practiced smile Claire was used to, but a slow one that reached his eyes. "Nice to meet you, Claire." His voice was calm, steady. During dinner, he sat across from her. Instead of commenting on her appearance, he asked about her work. "Marketing at a senior level. Must be intense," he said. "What's the most challenging part?" The question surprised her. Most people assumed marketing was glamorous. No one asked about the pressure. She explained the deadlines, the responsibility, the weight of leading a team. He listened without interrupting. When she paused, he asked thoughtful follow-up questions. Later, he asked about Emma. "What's it like raising a teenager today?" He asked with genuine curiosity. Claire laughed. Terrifying and beautiful at the same time. He smiled. "That sounds honest." At no point did his eyes wander. At no point did he steer the conversation toward flirtation. He seemed interested in her experiences, not just her presence. As the night moved on, Claire felt something unfamiliar. She didn't have to perform. She didn't have to impress. She simply spoke, and he listened. When dessert arrived, the group split into smaller conversations. Daniel leaned slightly closer, but not in a way that felt intrusive. "What do you do when you're not working?" he asked. "No one asks that," she said lightly. "I just did." She told him about her love of historical novels, her early morning walks by the lake, and her quiet habit of journaling on Sundays. Most men in the past had nodded politely when she mentioned books, then quickly changed the topic. Daniel asked which authors she liked most and why. It felt small. But it wasn't. By the end of the evening, Claire realized she had talked more about herself in 3 hours than she had on several previous dates combined. As everyone gathered their coats, Daniel walked beside her toward the entrance. "I really enjoyed tonight," he said. "You explain things in a thoughtful way. It's refreshing." The word hit her softly. Thoughtful. He noticed her mind. Outside, the cool air wrapped around them. Cars passed, headlights reflecting on the pavement. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" he asked. No pressure, no dramatic tone, just a simple question. She heard herself say their first coffee date was 2 days later. A small cafe, no candles, no heavy atmosphere, just conversation. He asked about her childhood in Ohio. She asked about his life in Toronto. He told her about designing community spaces and how he believed buildings should make people feel safe. She found that beautiful. On their second meeting, they walked along the river. Leaves fell around them. At one point, she spoke about her divorce more openly than she expected. "It wasn't loud," she said. That almost made it harder. "We just stopped seeing each other." Daniel didn't rush to reassure her. He didn't criticize her ex-husband. He simply said that kind of quiet distance can hurt deeply. She felt understood. Each time they met, he uncovered another layer of her, not by pushing, but by asking. One evening, sitting on a park bench as the city lights shimmered on the water, Claire admitted something she rarely voiced. "After the divorce," she said slowly, "I started feeling invisible, like men only saw the surface. They didn't care what was underneath." Daniel turned toward her fully. "I'm sorry you felt that way," he said. "No one deserves to feel unseen." His hand moved gently toward hers, but he didn't grab it. He waited. When she didn't pull away, he laced his fingers with hers. The gesture was simple, warm, respectful. "I see you," he said quietly. Her chest tightened. The words were not dramatic, but they carried weight, because being seen meant being heard, being valued, being known beyond appearance. For the first time in years, Claire felt that someone was touching the part of her that mattered most, her thoughts, her fears, her quiet strengths. When he walked her to her car that night, there was a pause between them. The air felt charged, but not rushed. He stepped closer, searching her face. "I'd like to kiss you," he said softly. "Is that okay?" The question alone made her heart race. "Yes," she whispered. The kiss was gentle, not demanding. It held warmth, not urgency. It felt like a promise of patience. As she drove home, her mind replayed the evening. Not the kiss, but the conversation. The way he listened, the way he respected her space, the way he valued her words. For years, men had tried to start with her body. Daniel had started with her heart, and that changed everything. Yet, as Claire lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, excitement mixed with fear. She knew how hope could hurt. She knew how quickly things could shift. She was falling for him. That much was clear. But love at this stage of life came with history, responsibilities, and hidden scars. She didn't know what fears Daniel carried. She didn't know how long he planned to stay in Chicago. She didn't know whether this connection could survive real life. All she knew was this. For the first time since her marriage ended, she did not feel invisible. And that feeling alone was powerful enough to change the course of her heart. Daniel Harper had learned the hard way that love could slowly erase a person. Years ago, in his quiet home in Toronto, he had poured himself completely into a marriage that slowly lost its warmth. There had been no betrayal, no loud fights, no broken plates. Just long days at work, tired evenings, and conversations that became shorter over time. He gave more effort each year, hoping effort alone could fix distance. Instead, he began to lose pieces of himself. His hobbies disappeared. His friendships faded. He became a man who only worked and tried when it ended. He promised himself something simple. Next time, he would not disappear. Now, standing in Chicago months later, he realized he was facing something rare with Claire Bennett. She was strong, intelligent, emotionally aware. She didn't demand attention. She inspired it. Being around her felt calm, not dramatic. Still, calm did not mean easy. He admired her independence. She managed her career and motherhood with quiet power. She had rebuilt her life without bitterness. But Daniel wondered if he truly fit into it. Her world was stable, established. Was there space for him? And if there was, could he step in without losing himself again? December arrived quickly. Snow began to cover the sidewalks. Holiday lights appeared on houses across Claire's neighborhood. One evening, she invited him to dinner at her home for the first time. Daniel felt the weight of the invitation. This was not a restaurant, not neutral ground. This was her space. When he arrived, she opened the door wearing a soft gray sweater and simple jeans. Her hair was down, natural. The house smelled like roasted chicken and fresh bread. "Come in," she said, smiling, though he noticed a hint of nervousness in her eyes. He stepped inside and paused. The home felt warm, lived in, peaceful. Framed photos lined the hallway. Emma at different ages. Claire at a beach, laughing. Family holidays. A life carefully built after loss. Daniel understood something in that moment. Claire was not just offering dinner, she was offering access. They ate at her dining table, talking. Easily at first. Work stories, travel dreams, memories from childhood. But beneath the surface, both of them felt the shift. The relationship was deepening. This was no longer casual. After dinner, they moved to the living room. A soft lamp glowed in the corner. Snow fell outside the window. Claire sat beside him. On the couch holding a glass of wine, she looked at him thoughtfully. "Daniel," she began quietly, "can I ask you something honest?" He nodded. "Always. What do you see when you look at me?" The question was direct, but her voice carried vulnerability. She wasn't fishing for praise. She was searching for reassurance. Daniel didn't answer quickly just to fill silence. He chose his words carefully. "I see someone who rebuilt her life with courage," he said. "I see a woman who protects her heart because she's been hurt, but who still wants love. I see intelligence, patience, depth." Her eyes softened, but she didn't look away. "And you don't just see attraction?" she asked gently. He smiled, understanding the unspoken fear. "I am attracted to you," he said honestly, "very much. But attraction is not the reason I'm here tonight." He reached up and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. The touch was light, respectful. "I'm here because I admire who you are." Claire exhaled slowly, as if tension had been living in her chest for years. She had experienced desire before, compliments before, physical chemistry before, but admiration felt different. Admiration lasted. Daniel placed his hand over her heart, not dramatically, but with quiet intention. "This matters first," he said softly. In that moment, Claire felt something shift inside her. She had spent years thinking she needed to prove she was still desirable, still exciting, still enough. Now she realized she simply needed to be understood. They leaned into each other slowly. The embrace that followed was not rushed. It carried warmth built from conversation, respect, and shared vulnerability. For Daniel, holding her felt safe, not consuming, not overwhelming. He felt present, not lost. Weeks passed. Their connection grew stronger. They attended holiday events together, walked through decorated streets, shared quiet mornings with coffee and long talks about the future. But the future held a complication neither could ignore. Daniel's architectural project in Chicago was nearing completion. His firm in Toronto expected him back permanently by late January. The thought sat heavily between them, even when unspoken. One night, they stood by Lake Michigan, the wind cold against their coats. The water was partially frozen, the city skyline glowing behind them. "How much time do we really have?" Claire asked softly. Daniel looked at her profile against the lights. He had grown used to her presence. The idea of returning to Toronto without her felt wrong. "I don't want this to end," he said. Honestly, she turned toward him. "Long distance isn't simple at our age. We have responsibilities. My daughter. Your work," he nodded. She was right. They were not in their 20s. Life was structured now. "Are we strong enough?" She asked. The question carried more than distance. Carried fear. Could they build something lasting without losing themselves? Daniel took her hands in his. "We started this the right way," he said. "We built trust first. That gives us a chance." But even as he said it, he knew words were not enough. A relationship required action. The following week, Daniel returned to his apartment after another evening with Claire. The space felt temporary now, cold. He sat at his kitchen table staring at architectural plans spread before him. He imagined life back in Toronto. His condo, his routine, his quiet evenings alone. Then he imagined Chicago. Claire's laugh, her steady presence. The way she listened as deeply as he did. He realized something important. With Claire, he did not feel pressure to become someone else. He did not feel like he had to give up parts of himself. She respected his independence. She encouraged his ideas. She asked about his dreams. This was not the kind of love that erased a person. It was the kind that supported growth the next morning. Daniel called his firm's managing partner. "I'd like to discuss something," he said. There was silence. On the other end, "Go ahead." "I'm open to extending my time in Chicago. Possibly transferring here permanently if there's opportunity." The request surprised even him. He had built his career in Toronto, his network, his reputation. But life was more than professional comfort. The partner responded thoughtfully. There were projects expanding in the U.S. office. It would require planning. But it was not impossible. When Daniel ended the call, his heart raced. "Restaurant?" She sensed something different in his expression. "What happened?" she asked. He reached across the table, holding her hand. "I spoke to my firm today," he said, "about staying in Chicago longer, maybe more than longer." Her eyes widened slightly. "You'd consider moving?" she asked. "I would consider building a life where it makes sense," he replied. "And right now, that feels like here." Claire felt emotion rise quickly. She hadn't asked him to sacrifice his career. She hadn't pressured him. The decision was his. "I don't want you to lose yourself for me," she said softly. He smiled. "I'm not. I'm choosing." That's different. That answer mattered, because real love, they both understood now, was not about surrendering identity. It was about choosing each other without losing oneself. Over the next few weeks, they discussed practical details. Emma's feelings, housing options. Travel between Toronto and Chicago during transition. It wasn't dramatic. It was mature. Thoughtful. That one evening, sitting on Claire's couch again, the same soft lamp glowing nearby. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to think what I wanted most was passion," she admitted quietly. "Now I realize I wanted peace." Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "Peace can be powerful," he said. Their relationship continued to deepen. Not because of grand gestures, but because of daily consistency. He showed up, he listened, he respected her space. She encouraged his ambitions. She valued his honesty. Months later, when spring arrived and snow melted from the sidewalks, Daniel officially transferred to Chicago. On moving day, as boxes filled, his new apartment only 10 minutes from Claire's house, he paused. He did not feel fear. He did not feel lost. He felt steady. That evening, Claire stood with him on his balcony overlooking the city. "You're really here," she said, almost in disbelief. "I am," he replied. They held each other quietly. No rush, no dramatic promises. Just certainty built from emotional foundation. Claire realized that what she had wanted all along was not to be touched first with desire, ket, but to be understood first with care. Daniel had given her that, and in return she had given him something. Just as important, a love that allowed him to remain fully himself. They had both learned that when two mature hearts choose to connect deeply before anything else. Love does not feel chaotic. It feels safe, and sometimes safety is the most powerful form of romance.